Sanga ready? Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunati Ravanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. श्री श्री राधा दामोदर की, श्री श्री गौर निताय की, श्रीला प्रभुपाद की, समावेत भक्त वृंद की, कलियुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की, ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। नमावों विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादि पाश्चात्य देशधारिणे। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Let us read from this Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 19th chapter, 37th verse. अथ पृच्छामि संसिद्धिं योगिनां परमं गुरुं Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha atha pritchami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum. Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha atha pritchami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum. Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha atha pritchami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum. Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarva. Mataji. Atha pritchami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum. Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvata. Ataha, therefore, pritchami, beg to inquire. Samsiddhim, the way of perfection. Yoginam, of the saints. Paramam, the supreme. Gurum, the spiritual master. Purushasya, of a person. Iha, in this life. Yat, whatever. Karyam, duty. Mriyamanasya, of one who is going to die. Sarvatha, in every way. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. Like that Parikshit Maharaj is saying. Purport. Unless one is perfectly anxious to know, unless one is perfectly anxious to inquire about the way of perfection, there is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not a kind of decoration for a householder. Generally, a fashionable materialist engages a so-called spiritual master without any profit. The pseudo-spiritual master flatters the so-called disciple, and thereby both the master and his god go to hell without a doubt. Maharaj Parikshit is the right type of disciple because he puts forward questions vital to the interest of all men, particularly for the dying man. The question put forward by Maharaj Parikshit is the basic principle of complete thesis of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let us see how intelligently the great master replies. Yat shrotavyam atho japyam yat kartavyam dribhi prabho smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yat va viparyayam. Yat, whatever, shrotavyam, worth hearing, atho, thereof, japyam, chanted, yat, what also, kartavyam, executed, dribhi, by the people in general, prabho, O master, smartavyam, that which is remembered, bhajaniyam, worshipable, va, either, bruhi, please explain, yat va, what it may, viparyayam, against the principle. Translation. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember and worship, and also what he should not hear, chant, remember and worship. I mean, what he should not do. Both he asked. Please explain all this to me. Nunam bhagavato brahma griheshu grihamedhinam na lakshyate hyavasthanam api godohanam pachit. O powerful Brahmana, it is said that you hardly stay in the houses of men long enough for a cow to be milked. So like this, Parikshit is telling Shukadeva Goswami, And then Sutta Goswami will say that how Shukadeva Goswami responded. And then the first canto ends. The answer to these questions asked by Parikshit is coming here, the second canto. So Shukadeva Goswami responds by beginning with Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So Shukadeva Goswami is very pleased with the questions of Parikshit. So what all questions Parikshit asked? Ata prachami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushasya iha yat karyam. In this material world, what is the duty of a man? And what is the duty of a dying man? Two things he asked. What is the duty of people in general? And what is the duty of a dying man? And two more questions he asked. What should be heard? What should be glorified? What should be remembered? Yat shrotavyam, yat kirtitavyam, yat smartavyam, he said. And also, fourth question he asked, what should not be heard, what should not be glorified, what should not be remembered? Totally 4 questions, correct, no? After hearing those 4 questions, Shukadeva Goswami is saying, Shri Shukavavacha Variyanesha te prashnaha Krito lokahitam nripa Atmavitsam mata pumsam Shirotavyadishu yah paraha. Shri Shukadeva Goswami said, my dear king, your question is glorious because it is very beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is the prime subject matter for hearing, and it is approved by all transcendentalists. So he is appreciating his question. The question itself is very wonderful. And now what Shukadeva Goswami does, if you see, he does not answer his first question, first or second or third question. Directly answers the 4th question first. What was the 4th question? What should not be heard? What should not be glorified? What should not be remembered? Please repeat. Shrotavyadi nirajendra nrinam santi sahasrashah apashyatam atmatattvam griheshu grihamedhinam. Those persons who are materially engrossed, being blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, have many subject matters for hearing in human society, O Emperor. So Prabhupada is saying in the purport, there are 2 nomenclatures for the householder life. One is Grihastha and the other is Grihamedi. Grihasthas are those who live together with wife and children, but live transcendentally for realizing the ultimate truth. That means Grihastha means their goal is to realize the ultimate truth, Krishna, and they live transcendently. The Grihamedis, however, are those who live only for the benefit of the family members, either extended or centralized, he is saying. That means, my family or my relatives like uncle, aunt and grandfather, grandmother, big family. However, are those who live only for the benefit of family members, extended, centralized, and are thus envious of others. The word medhi indicates jealousy of others, he is saying. Yeah. The Grihamedis, being interested in family affairs only, are certainly envious of others. Therefore, one Grihamedi is not on good terms with another Grihamedi, and in the extended form, one community, society or nation is not on good terms with another counterpart of selfish interest. In the age of Kali, all householders are jealous of one another because they are blind to the knowledge of ultimate truth, and they have many subject matters for hearing, political, scientific, social, economic, and so on. But due to a poor fund of knowledge, they set aside the question of the ultimate miseries of life, namely birth, old age, disease, and death. Factually, the human life is meant for making an ultimate solution to birth, old age, disease, and death. But the Grihamedi is being illusioned by the material nature, forget everything about self-realization. The ultimate solution to the problem of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 8.15, the miseries of material existence, birth, old age, disease, and death are removed there. The process of going back home, back to Godhead is to hear about the Supreme Lord and His name, form, attributes, pastimes, paraphernalia, and variegatedness. Foolish people do not know this. They want to hear something about the name, form, etc., of everything temporary. And they do not know how to utilize this propensity of hearing for the ultimate good. Misguided as they are, they also create some false literatures about the name, form, attributes, etc., of the ultimate truth. One should not therefore become a Grihamedi simply to exist for envying others. One should become a real householder in terms of scriptural injunctions. There are three types of people in this world: Nastik, Astik, Bhakta. So Nastik means one who has turned away from the Vedic instructions, Vedic injunctions, and leading a life like a two-legged animal, Dvipada Pashu, it is said. And Astik means one who accepts Vedic literature, one who accepts God, and one who certainly fears indulging in sinful activities, and he naturally would want to walk the path laid down by God. Astik. And Bhakta is even more special, because the Bhaktas are those who have lost their heart to God. They have given away their heart to the Supreme Lord. How do you know somebody has lost their heart to God? They have made Lord their very pran. The jivas generally, they are called as annagata pran. For the jivas, the food is the source of subsistence. And for bhaktas, shravanam is the source of subsistence. Therefore it is a jivanti sant mukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthita shrutika tanuvan manobir ye prayasho ajita jitopyasita strilokyam. The Ajita Lord, ajitam parajitam, it is said. The Ajita Lord becomes parajit, defeated or conquered. How? In whichever position you may be, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyas, situate yourself in some stable ashrama, and what should one do? Throw away the speculation out of the window. Jnane prayasa mudapasya namantayeva jivanti sant mukaritam bhavadiya vartam. Make the hearing about the Lord as the subsistence. Just like ordinary living beings subsist on food, similarly devotees should subsist on hearing about Krishna. That verse says that. So the difference between Astik and Bhakta is very, very important to know for devotees. Astik means a pious materialist, and Bhakta means a devotee of the Lord. Here he explains in this purport, when Shukadeva Goswami was explaining, he told him that Shrotavyadini Rajendra Niram Santi Sahasrashaha. The conditioned souls have thousands and thousands of subject matters to discuss. They talk about politics, they talk about cinema, actors and actresses, they talk about sports actors and actresses. They talk about the monetary situation of the country or the home, or they talk about the wars that are going on. They talk about the pandemic. So endlessly they can talk about the different tension-producing agents of the material world. And that becomes their main absorption. Basically, their goal is how to make material life more comfortable and how to accumulate more and more money and how to enjoy life in a dharmic way. That is a pious materialist, enjoying life in a dharmic way. So it's actually called pious materialist. If you really want to be more clear about this, example is Daksha Prajapati. Another example is Raghunath Das's father and uncle. Like, Govardhan Majumdar and Hiranya Majumdar and Govardhan Majumdar. You will find this. These are examples which are given in Shastra. That these are examples of pious materialists. For them, bodily comfort, mental comfort, and facilities, amenities, leading a life gradually through dharma, artha, kama. This is actually their goal of life. Pious materialist means the center is, the reference point is themselves only. I, me, mine. And then my grandfather, father, my grandmother, my parents and my family and my grandchildren and my estate, my car. So my earning, my money, my fame. So you may say that, oh, really? How can you say they are selfish? How can you say they are selfish? Yes, actually, they will appear like pious because they wear chandan, kumkum, they will go to the temple of the Lord, they will bow down to Lord. But they are more or less like a sun who goes to father only when he wants something. When he wants something. Papa, new model bike has come. Papa, new model mobile has come. So, they more or less consider God as the order supplier. God is order supplier and he will fulfill my needs. Now, how does this mentality can reflect in a devotee community? That I will speak, because we are not like ordinary pious materialists in the outside world. In devotee communities across the globe now, one new trend is coming, due to which I am keen to speak about this. When Srila Prabhupada started this movement, Prabhupada's movement was very similar to what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started in Shiva Sangan. If you see Shiva Sangan, Nimai Pandit, when he became a Goloka haunted devotee of Krishna, at that time, when Nimai Pandit returned, all the Vaishnavas became very delighted. In fact, morning they would go to pluck flowers for the puja of the Lord. That time all the Vaishnavas were talking to each other. Hey, did you hear the news that Nimai Pandit has become a Krishna devotee? So much so that he is weeping for Krishna, he is searching after Krishna, hankering for Krishna. And then everybody said, oh, I wish to go to Sachimata's home and I want to see his beauty of his devotion. So many people came to visit Sachimata's home to see Nimai Pandit's situation, how he had become a great devotee, which is what all Vaishnavas wanted, to see him. Otherwise, earlier he was a great arguing logician before that. So, in fact, he was not just chanting Hare Krishna, he was actually weeping for the Lord, feeling great separation, searching after Krishna. Subsequently, you will find Nimai Pandit coming to Shiva Sangan, and he told the devotees, why only we do kirtan in the day, let us do in the night also. Day and night there would be kirtans. Nimai Pandit did with all his associates like Advaitacharya Prabhu, and also Srivas Thakur, Gadadhar Pandit. Eventually Nityananda also came and joined. Nandanacharya Bhavan, he also came and joined. After that, Mahaprabhu thought, why only inside the four walls? Let us also take the Harinam Sankirtan outdoor. They took it outdoor also. So the Panchatattva flooded the entire country with the holy names of Krishna. At that time, just prior to the appearance of Nimai Pandit, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, many Vaishnavas would come and cry to Advaitacharya Prabhu. That they would say that, we have such highly educated scholars, like, many Bhattacharyas and Mishras and so many other people, Chaudharis, many other people. These people were all very highly learned in scholarship. But at that time, they were worshipping demigods, the Mansa Devi and all, like snake goddesses and all that. And they would not utter one name of Krishna, unless there is some eclipse or something. In the eclipse time, when they would go to take a dip in Ganges, that time they would utter the names of Krishna. So, otherwise they won't. They were actually having only scholarly debates amongst themselves. Nyaya. That was their main thing. So, that one category was scholars. Another category was demigod worshippers. There were another category of people who were doing even marriages of animals and even dolls also. They were wasting their money like that. And seeing the situation, all the Vaishnavas became very sad. How is it that people are utilizing the human form of life for wasting their time, with the rising sun and setting sun, one day is removed from our life. Like Bhagavatam says, Ayur harate vaipomsa mudyam mastam chayannasau tasya rite yat kshanonita uttama shloka vartaya. This verse says that one should not waste the human life. Life is short, time is precious, it should be utilized in remembering Krishna and going back to Godhead. So Vaishnavas, seeing the situation of Navadvip, were lamenting. And also, even though some of them may not be indulging in sinful activities, even though they were pious, and they may probably do the Sandhya 3 times a day, they may take a dip in the holy Ganges, all that they may do. But they never delighted in devotional service. Their hearts never delighted in devotional service. Their hearts were and delighting in probably Raschand Alankar, or some demigod worship, or some vain debates in Nyaya, who is a better Nyaya teacher, who has more students, and that kind of argumentative disposition was observed in Navadvip at that time. It was actually a very great seat of learning at that time. Just like Nalanda University, Takshashila, our Chanakya had. Similarly, very similar to that. So, you find that these two categories of people are shown in Navadvip itself. One class is pious materialists, who were condemned by the Vaishnavas. And another category is Vaishnavas. Now, in the same manner, let us take larger section of our country, which is the whole India, if you see. In India, you will find two categories of people you will find. One is the category of Vaishnavas. A Vaishnava is actually one for whom Lord is life and soul. Like Krishna says, Madchitta, Madgata Prana, Bodhayanta Parasparam, Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Charamanticha. Vaishnava means for them, Krishna is the life and soul. So hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, worshipping Krishna, and also spreading Krishna's glories. So this has been in our country, the Vaishnava devotees' heart. We hear so many pastimes of not only Lord, but also of the devotees in relation to the Lord. It's not that they were all brahmacharis. Many of them were grihasthas. If you see Sri Vaishnavas generally, they don't entertain people to become brahmacharis very easily. Correct, no? They generally have sannyas in Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. But you will see that they have husband, wife, children, grandfather, grandmother. Everybody will have tilak in their bodies prominently. Men, women, children, everybody would delight in going to the temple. If you see, out of 365 days, they have more than 260 utsavams, I heard. More than 260 days they have utsavams. That means, you can say almost every day you can say. Correct, no? Every day some utsavam in the temple. And the talk will be about the Lord only. If you go to every Divya Desam, if you go, the talk is about the Lord is a central hero for everybody's life. You go to Srirangam, Ranganath is a hero. You go to Tirupati, then Balaji is the hero, isn't it? These are very, very prominent deities. Similarly, even other places also. You will see that. So Lord, his pastimes, and also they would read Ramayana, other literatures also. Upanyasams, kathas, cultural programs, kirtans, chanting of Lord's name, celebrating festivals, dressing the Lord, decorating the Lord, offering flowers to the Lord, offering fruits to the Lord. So this has been day in and day out. Their lives would be very auspicious like this. Both in the temple and at home also. In the home also, that kind of very elaborate. So what happens by this? Our minds are completely taken away from sense gratification. In those days, when in the home, we never had anything called TV. We only had festivals celebrated for the Lord at home, puja, abhishekam, laksharchanas, and such kinds of things done at home. Or even when you keep in Vijayadashmi Gulu, you keep 10 days. People come to your home and then you explain all the different, what is Dashavatara, you explain, and Rama's pastimes, Krishna's pastimes, correct, no? So the lives are very auspicious. This is one category of people. When you talk about Vaishnavas are like this. Another category of people, they may be pious, but their piety is called self-serving piety or self-serving religiosity. The goal of that so-called piety, religiosity, or worship of temple worship or anything like that. Like, for example, somebody says, let us do Lakshmi Puja. Why? So that we will get big profit in our business. Correct, no? Yeah. And people similar to Satyanarayan Puja, people do like that. So that when they do Satyanarayan Puja, then after that there is some strings attached to that. So there is some goal planned. This is the goal we want to attain by doing that. So then it becomes like, it may be auspicious to some degree. At the same time, it's a worship directed to the Lord with some motivations, with the material motivations. And there are also many pious materialists in India who go to different demigods and keep vratas, do upavas, all these things they do. with certain fixed expectations from those demigods. On Monday I will do this, and on Tuesday I will do this, Friday I will do this, Saturday I will do this. Actually, therefore I am distinguishing between the two. One category is Vaishnavas, and another category, the pious materialists, if you see. Now, Daksha Prajapati, if you see, when he met Narada, when he saw Narada had preached to Daksha Prajapati's 10,000 sons, and they all became renounced, and then another 1,000 sons, Aryashvas and Shavalasvas. That time Daksha Prajapati gets to meet Narada Muni one time. Narada Muni purposefully went to his home. The whole idea is Narada Muni thought if he chastises me to his heart's content, he will become humble. And by becoming humble, bhakti can enter his heart also. In his generation, I have delivered so many people, let us deliver him also. With that idea, he went. So, at that time, Daksha tells Narada Muni that you have artificially induced renunciation in my sons. Actually, they were not renounced. So you are a sadhu, he says, and I am a sadhu, he says. Actually, these 11,000 sons, they were great devotees of the Lord. Actually, when one becomes a great devotee, it is immaterial whether you are married or unmarried, whoever you be. When one becomes oblivious to the material surroundings, when one becomes a devotee, wherever you are, all parts of the world, caste, creed, color, nationality, everything can be discounted. One becomes a devotee of the Lord. He didn't know that, Daksha Prajapati, because he was a pious materialist. Narada was a pure devotee. Now, Narada is a brahmachari, but you can also see many other pure devotees like Ambarish Maharaj. He was very great king of the world with many queens and elephants. There is one verse which says that. It says that griheshu, dareshu, suteshu, bandhushu, dvipottamas sandana vaji vastushu. And then it says, akshaya ratnabara ambaranadishu, ananta kosheshu akarot asanmatim. It says. The meaning of this verse is, Ambarish Maharaj had griheshu, he had family life, dareshu, wives, suteshu, children, bandhushu, relatives and friends surrounding him. Dvipottamas chandana vaji vastushu. He had huge elephants on the top of which people would keep him and shower flowers upon him. And he also had chariots, golden chariots. And also all kinds of royal paraphernalia, living in a palace, lavish courts and sofas and everything like that. And then the Akshaya Ratnabara Ambarnadish means he was wearing costly jewelry also in his body. Ornaments, jewelry, everything. And Ananta Kosheshu, inexhaustible treasury, it is said. Akarot asanmatim, that's the most important word there. That although he possessed all these things, he considered all these things to be material and he was not fascinated by them. So he was possessing them but not fascinated by them. His heart was given to Krishna. You all know that. Savai mana Krishna pada aravindayor vachams vaikunta gunanvaranane. How he engaged all his senses in Lord's service. Here is an example of a Vaishnava. So, a Vaishnava, in this way, day and night, he was absorbed in devotion service. Now, not only him, take Yudhishthira Maharaj, take Ambarish Maharaj, take Parikshit Maharaj, take Arjuna. Yasya kshana viyogena lokohya priyadarshanaha ukto hi rahito hi esha mritakaha prochite yatha. He says, when Krishna left the world, he says that whole world has become lifeless for me. Like shunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahename. He feels like that. So he cannot live comfortably with all facilities and amenities like a pious materialist, because he's not a pious materialist. His heart is not in material delight. His heart is in spiritual delight and connection with Krishna. So I gave you example of Narada. I gave you example of many Grihastha kings and people. And you will find the same with any economic bracket of devotees. Sudama Brahmana was poverty-stricken, with tattered clothes, but he was constantly remembering Krishna. You will see that. So, now, when we talk about pious materialism versus Vaishnava culture in ISKCON society, way back in 1965 to 77, in Prabhupada's times, when Prabhupada started this society, at that time, initially many of the boys, girls who joined, the girls would live in Brahmacharini ashram and boys would live in Brahmachari ashram. And later on some of them wanted to marry. Prabhupada arranged for marriage also. But even after marriage also, they would continue distributing books, preaching. They were like full-time devotees. Many. In Prabhupada's time, full-time devotees was a very common sight. Hundreds and, like in New Vrindavan alone, I heard there were 700 devotees. Yeah, similarly in New York also, there were more than 100 devotees. So, later on, as the society grew up, Prabhupada saw that some of them have got children and they have their family, and they are not able to come for the morning program or something. Then Prabhupada said that those who are not able to attend the morning program, they should stay near the temple and not inside the temple. They arranged for this Grihastha Dham apartments. You will see it in New Dwarka. New Dwarka is actually LA temple. Just opposite the temple, there are 5 queens' names, 5 patranis of Krishna, like Rukmini, Satyabhama, Mitravinda, Satya and Bhadra. In their names, there are 5 buildings, 5 housing colonies. So Grihasthas are staying there. Prabhupada said, no problem, let them stay there and keep coming. If a wife has to take care of the child, then husband comes. Or husband is babysitting the child, then wife comes. Let them be serious. But what subsequently happened was, gradually people became slack in the morning program and they became slack in spiritual practices. And see, the problem with the material world is, when we become slack in spiritual programs, then the material demands in our mind increases. Mind is not going to keep quiet. Mind will increase material demands. Then you have more material demands, then we have to also earn more money. For more material demands, more money also. And our mind will not be satisfied with simple things. But if you are spiritually high, then mind doesn't have any needs at all. You can lead a very simple life. But as soon as the spiritual life is compromised, the mind goes crazy and mind has multiple material demands, increasing demands. Actually, for brahmacharis and grihasthas, some kind of facilities allotted according to Shastra. What kind of lifestyle they should lead is all mentioned. They can lead. But when these people found that, they are not able to take part in spiritual activities, they were becoming weak, then they decided to go away from the temple. They went little distance away. Then the husbands went for jobs. Sometimes wife also went for job. Sometimes 2 people bringing money. And any amount of money you bring, like if you have seen a basket tokri, whatever water you put, it goes out. You've seen, huh? So you will find that husband is earning 1.5 lakh per month and wife is earning 1.2 lakh and still it is falling short. There are people like that. So families. So, and gradually then people started compromising on the morning program at home or the evening program at home. Minimum, rock bottom, minimum somehow or other finish off the 16 rounds badly. And there is no book reading, there is no going to temple regularly. The people became gradually weak. And what happened eventually in our society? Number of congregation living outside the temple outnumbered the number of people living inside the temple. Now, if you see in ISKCON, there may be 1 or 2% living inside the temple. 98% is living outside. Now, for us to live outside the temple, when it is good, when there is a very powerfully situated Vaishnava devotee, who influences the congregation, which may be staying far away from the temple. The couple may be living in another place, because temple is not just a physical structure made of bricks and stones. Temple is there where a devotee is there. That's all we can say. Wherever there is a powerful Vaishnava devotee, husband, wife, children, and they are intensely practicing bhakti, by their power of their spiritual influence, if many families actually come together and live not a pious materialist life, but a seriously practicing Vaishnava life. Now, what are the differences between the two? We are seeing that. It's explained here. So, Grihamedi is a selfish materialist. And then there is a pious materialist. And then there is a Bhakta. Now, selfish materialist, he may be an atheist, Nastic. For him, sense gratification is the goal. But what is the difference between Nastic and Astic? Astic also, his goal is sense gratification only. but through Krishna. He will say that, I agree that Krishna exists and Krishna is a very good order supplier. You don't agree that Krishna gives, but I agree Krishna gives. But both of us want to enjoy. That's the meaning. Whereas Bhakta means his goal is not enjoyment. His goal is to please Krishna. That's Bhakta's heart is, who is Krishna's mother? Who is Krishna's father? Who is Krishna's friends? Who is Krishna's sweetheart? Who are the animals who are very dear to Krishna? What is Krishna's abode? What are the likes of Krishna? What would Krishna want me to do? How can I please Krishna? So this kind of thought process goes on in the head of a Vaishnava devotee. Because his absorption is Krishna and Krishna related things, he goes back to spiritual world. Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjana. On the other hand, a pious materialist goes to temple and says, oh God, my grandmother's health is not very good. Please take care of her. Oh God, my grandfather's property is looted by somebody. It's in the court now. Please solve the court problem. So in this way, multiple problems when we present to God and expect Him to solve. So then we make Him, like yesterday night I was telling, we make Him Father and we are like children. So we are anxiety free and we give Him anxiety, correct? Na? We expect Him to solve the problem. And this tendency is called pious materialism. Now, see, if somebody is a pious materialist in this world, ideally speaking, I told you example of Govardhan Majumdar, Hiranand, they may not even know that they are pious materialists. But who told that? Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told to Raghunath Das. When you're speaking to Raghunath Das, Mahaprabhu says that. Your father and uncle, they are like pious materialists. He says that. Yeah. Now, Daksha Prajapati may not know he's a pious materialist. Actually, while speaking to Narada, he is very proud of his religiosity. That's the biggest problem. The pious materialists think very high of themselves. So, now, there is a class of even devotees who are initiated in ISKCON and into ISKCON practice. They are actually arguing for pious materialism, which is what I'm going to talk in the next few minutes. It's a very important section. Like, one person is saying that, Arjuna was told by Krishna to fight the battle of Kurukshetra because Arjuna was a Kshatriya. That means ultimately Krishna came to Karma Yoga, not Bhakti Yoga, he says. Because, Arjuna being a Kshatriya, Krishna told, whatever is Svabhava for you, do. Similarly, all of us ISKCON devotees, according to Svabhava, whatever tendencies and inner callings you may have, you have to give them vent. Artificially, you cannot suppress them. Simply, Krishna, Krishna, you cannot be doing all the time. Just give vent to your Svabhava and do your Karma Yoga and everything. And towards the end of your life, as it says, Ante Narayana Smriti, at that time we should remember Narayana. Till then, do Karma Yoga and be normal like outside people. Like that, one initiated devotee is preaching. Like this. Now, if you very carefully read the Acharya's commentary, Vishnu Thakur says, Krishna did not tell Arjuna to fight the battle because Arjuna was a Kshatriya. He clearly says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya, including Kshatriya Dharma also. You have to abandon all varieties. You are not a follower of your Swabhava. You are a follower of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. He told him that because if you are going to fight according to Kshatriya Swabhava, you will have hatred towards Karna. And you will have hatred towards Kauravas. And with that hatred, if you fight, and that is going to again lead to Karma Bandhana. So Lord told, you are not fighting in your own account. You are fighting in whose account? Krishna's account. So I am telling you to fight as a Bhakta, not as a Kshatriya. So this is not known. Although people may be big scholars, they may be saying that the goal of Bhagavad Gita is just do your karma, that's all. Do your Karma Yoga. So this is one of the biggest flaws. Another thing, these pious materialists who argue, they say that, you see, Bhagavatam is only for bhava. It is not for practical. It is only for some attitude. You have to keep that bhakti bhava, that's all. But on a practical level, you see, we are living in the world. We have so many things to do, And also, Bhagavatam especially should be emphasized towards the end of one's life, because ultimately love of God has to be awakened towards the end of your life. For leading life, read Mahabharata. And when you're about to die, then you read Bhagavatam. Like that they say. So when one fellow told me this argument, I told him, See, Ambarish Maharaj read Bhagavatam towards the end of life or throughout he practiced? Savya Manakrishna Padarvindyo, is it after old age? He was very young. Later on, when he grew up also to retirement age, he wanted to become even more serious. And not only that, Prahlad Maharaj says, Kaumaram acharet prajño, correct? Dharman bhagavataniha. Bhagavata dharma should be studied when, Prahlad says? Kaumaram. Prahlad says you should start from 5. But Narada Muni gave that knowledge to Prahlad in the womb only. That means Narada Muni is preaching Bhagavad Dharma is at what stage? From womb stage. And Prahlad Maharaj's instruction is at least to start from 5. And Parikshit and Bharat Maharaj, they were all practicing Bhagavad Dharma when they were in the prime of their youth. And Bharat Maharaj, in prime of youth, he renounced the world. Do you know that? You will see that. And Ambarish Maharaj also was, even as a young man, he practiced Bhagavad Dharma. You will see that. So it's not that Bhagavad Dharma is only to be reserved at the end of one's life. That's a foolishness, actually. The pious mentalists can give any type of argument. Just you see. Huh? Yeah. So they say, these pious mentalists say, you see, when Prabhupada started the movement, everybody was very fired up. You are supposed to run around, distribute books, bring funds, put up the temple, and all these things. Now it's not practical. Our movement has grown up now. 50 years have passed now. We have to be very realistic. We have to be very practical. You have to take care of so many things. These kind of things, they say, they don't see the flaw that it is due to their pious materialistic tendency. These type of thoughts are arising in their mind. It's not a question of 50 years ago or 50 years later. Even 500 years ago, people are fired up. If you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time in Shiva Sangan, you will find that. You will see that, Shiva's small boy had passed away, correct, no? How did Shivas behave? These are our role models. You will see that. And also you will see how the, what do you call it? Advaita Acharya Prabhu daily had Bhagavatam study. Sitting in circle with devotees. Or Vishwarup used to go and attend, correct, no? You hear about that regularly. For them, Bhagavatam is their pran. Holy name is their pran. And worship of the deity form of the Lord is their pran. That is their main life. It's not that only in the fag end of their life they did. Young and old, everybody used to participate alike. Stri, Vriddha, Abal. The word is used in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. You will see women, children, old people, young people, brahmacharis, grihasthas. Bhagavata Dharma is for everybody, without any exception. So, people who compartmentalize it. So, they say that Prabhupada started this movement with a great missionary spirit because creation requires some passion. That is why they did. Now we need more sustenance now, which means they say become more complacent. Become more complacent, more lazy, more crazy, and make your mind more crazy by that. Because mind's material demands will increase by this. And I have witnessed people who speak like this. Eventually, if you see their lives, they lose interest in Krishna. And they become interested in many things like Mahabharata details and political situation of Mahabharata. They become more intellectually oriented. They start discussing about different things. Just like this, we have this Devadatta Patnaik and such scholars who write from literary point of view. Then people become interested in those things. Those kinds of interpretations of Mahabharata. And they also talk about how the in Mahabharata, the characters, they don't talk from a devotional point of view. Like you read Bhishma Pitama in Bhagavatam, your love for Bhishma Pitama will increase. All of you think for a moment, Shri Radha Damodar ki, you think about Bhagavatam character of Bhishma. When I read in Bhagavatam about Bhishma, how he is enjoying Veeri Rasa with Lord Krishna, correct, no? That pastime of Krishna lifting the Ratanga Pani, Krishna. And also, Krishna, Bhishma Pitama has a lover of the Pandavas. And Bhishma is offering prayers when he was leaving the body in the Uttarayan, correct, no? These are the things we absorb our mind in. So by reading those sections, our attraction, affection for Bhishma increases naturally as a devotee. Now, these people, pious materialists, they don't emphasize on these things. They go to Mahabharata and they talk about all the different, mentalities of Kunti or Madri or Bhishma or Bhima or Arjuna, all these different characters. And then they see the characters from a karmakanda point of view. Now, what is the danger? What these people say, pious materialists say in ISKCON, they say that by seeing this, you also get loka vichar, how to live in the world also. It will be helpful. But in the name of getting some help from these Bhagavatam characters, they don't know they are slaughtering their divine sentiments towards these characters. They don't know that. In the name of learning this mundane point of view. For example, are you aware, in Mahabharata there is one viewpoint given, that when Parikshit was given a curse to die in 7 days, Parikshit was worried, he was afraid, and they had put a moat around his palace so that no snake can enter. He was given a very great protective mechanism. But later on, one fruit he takes, from the fruit the snake comes. So these kind of things Mahabharata mentions. Now if you read Bhagavatam, you'll never find that. In the Bhagavatam, you will find Parikshit Maharaj, Tamopayatam Pradyantu Vipra verse says, Tashatvalam Gayata Vishnu Gata, he says. Now you read Bhagavatam Parikshit, your love for Krishna and Parikshit will increase. Now in Mahabharata, why it is mentioned differently? One of the things is we say Kalpabhed, we say, that's one possibility. But even if Parikshit was given protection, it's likely that the rishis and the praja might have wanted him to be protected like that, in order for the king to be saved so that he can maintain the praja of the world. It's likely, there's a possibility, is there. But by reading that kind of literature, like Mahabharata, and then talking from a karmakanda point of view, you lose the spiritual essence. And you become more political minded in the name of learning worldly wisdom. So would you want to derive worldly wisdom from our scriptures at the cost of spiritual sentiments and bliss? Think about it. Our life is very short. In Kali Yuga lives, people live 50, 60, 70, 80 years max. So actually these people will not make effort to chant the holy name inoffensively. But they will delve deeper into Mahabharata and Ramayana, and then find different things. Like for example, when you are reading also Ramayana also, you can read Ramayana from 2 points of view. You can read from a desire to awaken love for Rama, and from all the characters, how to increase your devotion. Therefore we say, na utpadaye yadiratim shramayevahi kevalam. If your shastric study does not awaken love for Krishna, then that shastric study is going to be a great obstacle in our going back to Godhead. Shramayevahi kevalam. It says that it's not that shastric study is a waste of time. It says shrama means it's a useless endeavor. Just like if somebody is taking a rice paddy, and then if you beat it, the grains come out, correct, no? But after the grains come out, what do you call it? The yellow one, long one. Busa, they call it, no? But the husk, if you take the husk and if you beat it, will you get anything? No, you say, yes, you will get what you will get? You will get pain here. That's what he's saying. Shrama you get. You get pain. That's the only advantage you have by beating that, he says. So, similarly, people who study these literatures like this, you can see that their attraction for Krishna has gone away. The fascination is not there. And another thing is, unfortunately, the pride has come that our regular, typical ISKCON devotees don't know these things. And I know a lot in Mahabharata, the nuances and subtleties of different characters. And like one such fellow was telling, you are thinking very high of Bhishma, but I can tell you what problems Bhishma had. I will tell you. And what problem Bhima had, I will tell you. And Bhima and... See, that's a Karmakanda literature, Mahabharata. Mahabharata gives from Karmakanda point of view a lot of political... He says there's 3 Shudra Dvija Bandhunam, Trainam Gochara. He says, it's written... When Mahabharata was written for such people, because they need stories and everything. But if you are put in a Brahminical status now, you should be able to be like a Saragrahi. Read Mahabharata in such a way that your devotion to Krishna increases. Not that you come down to Shudra level. And then you are thinking that I am so intelligent that I will not become a serious Vaishnava, but I will I will compromise and I will become from Bhakti Yogi, I demote myself to Karma Yogi. That kind of thing. So these people, their focus has become family life. That's the meaning of Daksha Prajapati. Daksha means expert in sex life, that's all. That is Daksha. Materialism, money and sex, that's all. That is our goal. So Daksha says that Nanu bhuyana janati puman vishaya tikshnatam. In that verse he says that you live material life, a whole life, then thoroughly get frustrated, then sharpness of material enjoyment will be revealed to you. At that time you can, renounce the world. He says, but our Kali Yuga bodies are not favorable for this type of lifestyle. Because our His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj in his book Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani explains very nicely why Prabhupada condemned demigod worship. The reason is, in the previous ages, if you did demigod worship, you will be making slow progress in your spiritual path. Little by little, detachment will develop. But the ambience of the world around was very conducive. You can actually worship demigods for thousands and thousands of years. Little by little you will keep progressing. And then you will come to pure devotional service. Whereas now the world situation, is it conducive? Not at all conducive. Therefore Prabhupada said one-stroke method. One-stroke method means take the bhakti path very intensely, seriously throughout your life and go back home, back to Godhead. So Prabhupada explains that in Nectar of Instruction, first verse purport also. He says you can go through Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Or you can take this one-stroke method, take shelter of a pure Vaishnava devotee and follow the pure Vaishnava principles, awaken love for Krishna. So awakening love for Krishna is not very easy. We need intensely practicing devotees in whose company you stay. Then only we can avoid all this atyahara, prayasa, pajalpa, niyama, graha, janasanga, laulyam, vachavegam, manasvegam, krodvegam, all that we can avoid. And then we can possess utsaha, nishya, dhairya, all those things. So, I am observing this, and when leaders are indulging in this kind of pious materialistic behavior, so the people under them have got innumerable doubts about whether we should go for sustenance model or whether we should go for fired up missionary model, what we should go for. And especially if educated, scholarly devotees get into Mahabharata and they are giving a pious materialistic perspective of life, then actually for the complacent devotees, it becomes authorization and rubber stamp. Those who want to be complacent, they will say, Radheshyam Prabhu is saying, become fired up and go back to Godhead. Here, another very senior, very intelligent and scholarly devotee is saying, just, relax, practice Karma Yoga. Your home is the center. Me, my home, my earning. There is no hurry. And when you become very old, 75, 80, then take the mala and become more serious. This is the best way to go to hell. In this way, one will actually create a ghastly future for oneself. Because in Kali Yuga, if we become complacent, there is enough type of Maya clutches to capture us. You can see that. One of it is the distracting social media. As soon as you're a little complacent, social media will capture you by your neck. You will see that. If you're a serious devotee, social media is cheating me. You can keep away. But if you're not a serious devotee, you will immediately be captured. And not only that, there are enough people to exploit your money in your pocket. So many advertisements, so many unnecessities in life are being promoted. You can see this story of the stuff. It's there in the, if you go to the Google and put story of the stuff, you will see the consumer culture. It is explained. How all these people are tied up together, the television people, the commercial product selling people, the commercial product making people, they all have tied hands together to loot the pocket of the public. So we are going to be looted for our money, and we are going to be cheated by the social media, and our head will become filled with things which are not conducive for our spiritual progress, in the name of going slow in spiritual life. And it will pave way to a hellish type of situation for us, eventually, if not immediately, eventually over a period of time. And such people actually lose taste for the morning program. They lose taste for coming to the temple in the weekend. They say that we value family culture. What is it? Keep in touch with uncle, aunt, dada, dadi. Don't reject everybody. We should not reject the world. You should be, don't isolate yourself from the world. Be a part of the world. And basically they are saying, be in Maya. See, I also won't mind connecting with uncle, aunt, everybody if we can bring them to devotion service. That is not their goal. Their goal is to be like them. Be one of them, be like them. Which means they're basically indirectly, subtly saying that it's all right to be in Maya. You don't have to go so fast in spiritual life. So this pious materialistic culture entering into ISKCON is the greatest curse to ISKCON, I can say. In the name of being level-headed or realistic, in the name of being realistic, and that everything becomes diluted. In such a society, the so-called grihastha, pious materialist will give donation to the sadhus and say, don't expect me to sit in the lecture and hear lecture. I will give a donation for your belly. You eat, and then sadhu will eat that and grow a big belly, and you will give ashirvad to them. So both are cheating one another. Sadhu is cheating by giving ashirvad Baba, and they are cheating by just giving donation. But actually our culture should be what culture? Shravanam and Kirtanam. Therefore, why I am telling you this, the first question he answered was the fourth question. Correct, no? He had asked, if you see here, see, here in the previous chapter I showed you, he had asked, Yat Shrotavyam, Atojapyam, Yat Kartavyam, Drivipabo, Smartavyam, Bhajaniyam Va, Bruhi Yad Va Viparyayam. The Viparyayam, he picked it up. He said, what you should not hear, what you should not glorify, what you should not do, what you should not remember. He said, I will say about that first. Why he is warning? Because these are the four activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, and worshipping. If you do for materialistic things or karmakandi things, you will get stuck in this world. If you do the same four things for Krishna, keeping Krishna at the center of your life, you will become transcendental. One will become transcendental. Therefore, there is later verse will come. What he says, later verse? Tasmat bharata sarvatma bhagavan nishwaro harihi shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartavyascha chata bhayam. He says. He's saying if you want to attain abhaya position, then tasmat bharata sarvatma bhagavan ishwaro harihi sarvatma. See the words used. The Lord who is full in all six opulences. He is the supreme controller. He is sarvatma. He is the actually, there is no place where he is not present. He is present in the heart of all living beings. And his name is Hari. Sarva Amangala Hare iti Hari. He will remove all inauspiciousness. And also, Premadiya Hareman. He steals the hearts of the devotees by flooding their hearts with love. That's the meaning of Hari. Shrotavya, hear about him, he says. Kirtitavya, glorify him. Smartavya, remember him. Ichchata avayam, if you desire a position of freedom from anxieties. All anxieties will be gone. So that he will say later. Actually, what to hear, that he says later. What you should not hear first, he says. Because that warning of Shukadeva Goswami itself gives an indication that in this world we should save ourselves from this complacent, pious materialism and make our consciousness suitable and serious, like the way Prabhupada wanted this movement to be. Prabhupada wanted the movement to be, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted what he came to teach. Actually, our speech should be in line with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada. And nowadays, many devotees are coming, like, they're coming up with so new directions they're coming. It's very bewildering for many devotees. People are saying, you don't have to, Prabhupada said it at that time, now things have become different and this and that. They're just changing a lot. So, from that point of view, your community here in Singapore city, and here you are I can say you are really saved from so many onslaughts of false propaganda that is going on in the name of educated people teaching their followers, even within our society. It's happening. So here, I have observed that you have given a very solid emphasis on morning program. Everybody coming together for morning, Mangalarti, Narsingharti, Tulsiarti, chanting Japa, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. This is called Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma. So Pancharatrika Dharma and Bhagavata Dharma, they are like two railway lines. Pancharatrika Dharma teaches how not to forget Krishna. And Bhagavata Dharma teaches how to always remember Krishna. So both these things are given a very good emphasis. And then after that's over, Then the daytime and the evening time, when you get time, then seva. So there should be kainkaryam for the Lord. And our life should be simply centered around this only. Shravanam, Kirtanam and Bhagavad Seva Kainkaryam. And life should go. And what will happen? Our consciousness will become filled with remembrance of Lord and the devotees and what message we read in Bhagavatam. And I am observing similar thing with His Grace Devakinanda Prabhu in Singapore. If you see Singapore, you know Devakinanda Prabhu. Yeah. How he keeps the whole community vibrant by keeping the reading of Srimad Bhagavatam and hearing and rendering service. He himself is a lawyer. He sleeps at 10 o'clock and gets up in the morning at 3 o'clock. And all day, so many Krishna conscious things he does. So, actually, we all should remember that even if our life is a bit strugglesome and strenuous in bhakti life, when we are doing it, if we keep doing it, gradually it will become susukam kartam avyaya. We will conquer the lower modes of rajoguna, tamaguna. Because Krishna will see that this poor fellow is, not leaving me, is all the time struggling hard to attain me. He will take pity on us and he will bless us to gradually conquer the lower modes of tamaguna, rajoguna and rise up. And it's only a matter of time when you start getting a very great taste. Just like, child doesn't like chapati in the beginning. When you have to change from breast milk to chapati or rice, do you think children like it? They don't like it in the beginning. But when the mother keeps on feeding, and over a period of time, the staple food becomes nice for you. You start, now you eat. Now how much rice you eat? You see, you have sambar rice, and you have rasam rice, you have dahi rice, rice-o rice. Isn't it? They're able to eat because you got used to it, practiced now. In the same manner, Krishna consciousness may be difficult in the beginning, but we have to be convinced about one thing. This is the thing that is good for me. Whether it's not a question of my liking or not liking. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving it, Prabhupada is giving, all the 12 Mahajanas are giving. Bhagavad Dharma is the foundation of pure life in this world, which will take us to transcendental platform. Don't get diverted, distracted by various types of people are getting into different kinds of teachings, even within our society, apart from the Shuddha Bhakti. Shuddha Bhakti should be our heart, it should be our core of our life. Other things, peripheral things for the purpose of some skill, maybe 2%, 5% of your time, energy you gave it is all right. But Prabhupada's emphasis will be known if you hear Prabhupada's lectures regularly. By Prabhupada's lectures, every lecture Prabhupada is emphasizing Shuddha Bhakti. And if we are practicing or teaching anything other than Shuddha Bhakti, like pious materialism, we are sadly mistaken and we are also misleading others. So it should be known. So I only covered a little bit of it, but there may be many other viewpoints that they are propagating, promoting. But unfortunately, our society has become very big now. We are living in a big world. Another wrong thing I'll tell you, there's some guys are propagating. One fellow is saying, Kanishta Adhikari means he only wants to preach. Madhyama Adhikari means he is more concerned about his purification. I said, if Prabhupada hears this, he will be wild, I said. Prabhupada says, learn 2 sentences and preach 2 sentences. I can show you a quote from Leelamrita. In San Francisco, New Jagannath Puri, one boy asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, you are telling us to preach, what will we preach? We don't know anything. You know so much, we don't know anything. Prabhupada said, what is the difficulty? I have given you my books, read 2 sentences and repeat 2 sentences. Prabhupada says, this is preaching. Prabhupada doesn't say, first you work on purifying your heart, See, purification is endless. Whole life is not enough to purify. But if you are going to wait for ultimate purification, whole life you won't preach at all. So do purification. Therefore, Mahaprabhu also says, Janma sarthaka kari, karapara upakar. Okay, little purification I am doing. Preach also, then purify also, preach also. 50-50. 50% purify, 50% preach. So these false philosophies, where they have come from, after full purification only you have to preach, you have no qualification, all this. These are all concocted by, people in our society because they are not reading Prabhupada books. That's the problem. We should adopt Prabhupada's mode and mission. You cannot have your own mode and mission. Yeah. If you want to have, instead of ISKCON, start PISKCON, another society. You can't call it ISKCON. If you want to do your own thing. If you want to be in ISKCON, we have to follow what Prabhupada's mode and mission is. I can show you, whatever I am telling you in the lecture, I can show you evidences from Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada's letters and everything. Prabhupada's mood and mission is, we are a preaching movement. We should be going out on Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, prasadam distribution, temple worship, studying Shastra, preaching Shastra, expanding the movement. So we have to think in the same lines as our founder Acharya has wanted the society to be. Prabhupada said, do as I have done, speak as I have spoken. Prabhupada says that. So then we are Prabhupada followers. Otherwise, you just wear a tilak, kantimala, look like a Vaishnava devotee and you preach pious materialism. Then it's like you're a cheater then. One will mislead the people of the world. So one thing you will observe, any place you go, you will see there are some leaders, and the leaders lead and the followers follow. So fortunately, you all got very good leadership, which is emphasizing on the principles that Prabhupada has emphasized. So therefore, the followers can just follow and go on very nicely. But you will also come across over a period of time when you travel here, there, people may speak different things, but never be misled. Keep in mind, Nastik, Astik, Bhakta. We want to be which one? Bhakta. We don't want to be just Astik. It's not enough to accept the Vedas. We have to live the Vedas. And living the Vedas, the ultimate is Vedeshu Durlabham. Adurlabham Atma Bhakta. Even the Vedas are not fully transcendental. But therefore Krishna says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda is Traigunya Bhavadana. If you want to go beyond the three gunas, then Bhagavata Dharma is the thing to be followed. And Bhagavata Dharma is not for the end of life. It is even in the womb only. As given by Narada to Prahalad. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Thank you.